Intro to Soil Health Part 3, Humans and Soil. In this video, we will talk about our relationship to soil as humans, the complexity and practical application of our knowledge of soil, the 4 or sometimes 5 soil health principles, and the obstacles and benefits of adopting conservation practices in your own operation. Our relationship to soil depends on our culture, location on the globe, as well as things like our profession, personal observation, and education. We rely on thousands of years' worth of knowledge regarding soils and agriculture, which enables us to identify basic principles that have proven to build and conserve soils that produce nutritious food and prevent contamination of our air and water. So when you look at soil, what do you see? It may appear dark, opaque. What's in it might be amorphous or lacking in shape. Most things in soil you can't see because they are microscopic. And there are also many invisible processes going on in the soil. But there are so many things we can measure and observe in soils. Things like texture, particle size, mineral versus organic matter, the smell, moisture content, compaction, aggregation. Are there plant roots, mycorrhizae, arthropods, worms, decomposing organic material? Are there mammals? What's the structure? What's the color like? What's the consistency? Are there rocks, layers? What is the soil depth? What was the land used for? What's the drainage like? Soil is complex, constantly changing in nutrient composition by way of countless decomposition pathways, facilitated by an incredible biodiversity of soil organisms with diverse functions, and is comprised of an immense range of mineral and organic material combinations, with varying ability to hold water and air within its pore spaces. But despite these complexities of soils, we have found, based on a long history of humans practicing agriculture, that 4 or sometimes 5 basic principles create healthy, functioning soils. And those soil health principles are 1. To minimize disturbance, 2. To maximize soil cover, 3. To maximize presence of living roots, 4. To maximize biodiversity, and sometimes integrating livestock. So in assessing your property, you can ask yourself these questions. What percentage of the soil is covered with residue or plants? Are there living roots? Has the soil been disturbed? Is there diversity in the system? Are animals or their byproducts incorporated into the system? And possible solutions might be cover crops, filter strips, no-till or reduced-till practices, conservation crop rotations, or prescribed grazing. It may feel like there's many obstacles to conservation. For example, do you own expensive equipment like tillage equipment? Companies will still want you to buy their products, for example, chemicals. You have your familiar traditions and habits. There's going to be some transition time between conventional and regenerative farming. Not knowing where to start. There may be risk. It may go against societal norms. Peer pressure, and it's an economic shift. But more and more people are utilizing soil health practices every day. This is a quote from one of the soil health champions with the Soil Health Champions Network and the National Association of Conservation Districts. Every year I try to do a little more or something a little different. You have to learn to adapt to the situation. There are so many ecosystem services provided by healthy soils, like clean air and water, cultural, spiritual, and recreational values, decomposition and cycling of organic matter, drought and flood regulation, gas exchange and carbon sequestration, maintenance of soil structure, medicines, plant growth control, pollination, production of food, fuel, and energy, regulation of nutrients and uptake, seed dispersal, soil detoxification, soil formation and prevention of soil erosion, suppression of pests and disease. And these are all services that can be provided by your farm. A good place to start when improving your soil health is to observe your systems. Learn your soil types, how things like vegetation, drainage, soil moisture, beneficial insects, pests, and erosion respond to different soil health practices. Observe living organisms and natural processes. Learn what your soil lacks in functionality and what you can do to improve it. So continue the cycle, give back to the soil. Soil gives us so much, but it is not a one-way process. Soil can produce crops and forage, but not indefinitely without caring for the soil. Soil must be replenished and protected so that the life within it can provide its vital functions.